I had a call from a young man who told me he would like to come in to discuss his forthcoming chasna. B'chavod, please. And so the young man made an appointment and he came to me. He said, Rebbe, I know you only from your shiurim. I've attended some of your shiurim and I watch many on TorahAnytime. I would like to ask you, I don't have a Rav. Would you be Mesader Kiddushin for me and my Kala? I started to wonder. Here he's a young man. He doesn't have a Rebbe, he doesn't have a Rav. However, he was so sincere and he was so genuine that I decided I can only say yes to him. And I told him yes. Interesting. He had the information that I needed him to get in terms of the names of his Kala, the family, what to fill out in the Tanoim and the Ksuba, and he didn't call me back. And the date of the Chasana was coming soon. And I wondered what was going on. I didn't have his telephone number. I didn't have his information. Finally, he calls me back. And he says, Rav, I want to ask you a question. What time will you be there? I said, Chassan, I don't even have your information. I don't even know what your names are, what the names of your Kala and her family are. He said, oh, I'm sorry. I'll get that to you right away. And he sent a shliach with all the information. Already, I wondered, why is it that he didn't get the information to me? I went to the wedding on the night of the chasana. I come in, the chassan greeted me, took me over to the table, to the chassan's tish, and I sat next to him, a young man, a young chassan from Israel. As I was sitting there, I saw that he got a little bit emotional. He said, Rav, there's something that I would like to ask you. Could we please go into the hall where it's private? I don't want to do it in front of everybody. I started to think to myself, I knew I should have asked more questions. I knew that I should have filled out a blank to make sure that everything was in order. Who knows what he's going to tell me? I go outside. He looks down and he says, Rav, I hate to tell you, my father is completely disassociated with me. He has nothing to do with me at all. He will not be at this wedding. I paid for the entire wedding. I worked very hard at a night job just to be able to pay for it. It would be my great honor if you would walk me down the aisle, because I have no one to march me down the aisle. And isn't a Rav supposed to be like a father? When I heard that, my heart was so moved. A genuine chassan. He does everything himself. A wonderful kala, a wonderful chassan. And he's got to ask me, minutes before the chuppah, will I walk him down the aisle? I want to tell you, it is the only time that I ever wished that I wasn't a Rav. Because that night, when people would see me walk down the aisle with him, they would all realize that I'm a Rav, and he had to ask me to walk down with him. If I wasn't a Rav, and I wasn't known, they would think, it's his father. His father's walking him down. I took such great pride. I walked him down to the chuppah, and for some reason, everybody in the entire hall stood up and clapped. Mi yoidea, aseh lecha Rav. Sometimes you just got to get the Rav. Sometimes you got to get him last minute. But get a Rav. I stayed. Usually I would have left after the first dance. I can't stay at everyone's simcha. I tried to stay as long as possible, but I would have left right after the first dance. And then I thought to myself, if you're the father, if you're like the father, and you walk them down the aisle, when does the father leave? Immediately after the chuppah? After the first dance, you duck out the side entrance? Or do you remain? So I stayed until the last Sheva Bracha that night. I said to the Chassan and Kala, I have to leave. Both the Chassan and Kala got up from their chairs and insisted on walking me out to the parking lot, to the place where my car was parked. In my life, at Me'avesim Shana, I never got escorted to the parking lot, certainly not by the Chassan and Kala, the guests of honor. Aseh L'cha Rav. Aseh L'cha Rav means that a person has to try and make for themselves a Rebbe.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.